Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jennifer Russell and my studio is Building Wings Studio. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. I wanted to share with you a technique that I use, a way that I use creativity to get to my inner wisdom, a way to kind of sneak past the ego or past the conscious and maybe touch on the beliefs or patterns or things that I didn't know I was aware of. So we're bringing up the stories or new perspectives that maybe we didn't have before. So the project that we're going to be completing is creating a few cards, you can call them oracle cards or wisdom cards, whatever you'd like to call them, but they are going to be filled with your symbols and your words from your inner wisdom on our theme today. So these are the ones that I've created in the lesson today. But I want you to know that there's no wrong way to do this. Whatever your creativity is asking for, your muse, your wisdom, whatever is coming up for you is right. These are just some prompts and ways to help you get started if it's something new to you. So I've made quite a few different cards over the years, and you could pick one size and cut it. I tend to fold my paper and tear it, which I'll show you in today's video. Other times, some of them are all the same size, some of them are different just depending on what I have or the purpose of what I'm creating for. Here's some here where I just splash some watercolor on and glue on a word. Maybe you aren't called to put a word on yours. You don't have to. Sometimes I've done a couple that are circular and then I've added the word on the back. Just know when you put a word on one, it doesn't have to always mean that. Because over time, images and their meaning to us evolve. So even though you put a word on it, the meaning of the card could change over time. Some other things you could do are rounding your corners if you like that. Sometimes I use scrap paper and tear it up and have those for cards later on. So you might already have some stuff laying around. These ones, let's see, this one says dream on the front, but manifest on the back. Sometimes you can add extra on the back for a little more meaning or context to your card. These ones are mostly the same size. Some of them are just designs. So it doesn't have to be a complex thing. Whatever you're called to put on it could just be a splash of color, whatever it means to you. Sometimes I create cards that are a little more involved, and these ones I measured them out and actually cut them, and I've gilded them and added backings and put a special coating on them so that they don't stick. And these ones are more my own personal deck that's ever growing, and I do a lot of collage and doodling on them, and they each have their own meaning but not too much description. So there's lots of different ways that you can create these. I'm showing you a simple way today that is a quick and accessible way to just get what's on the inside out. All right, so that being said, let's get started. Often when I sit down to do these sorts of cards or projects where I'm seeking some inner wisdom, I like to start with an inquiry or an intention. And the inquiry or intention I have for you today, should you choose to use it, you can also use your own or just let what comes and let it flow. But here's a little guidance if you would like it. What would happen if I remained open to the possibility that my inner wisdom had the answers? So often we forget to look within us and trust that instinct or those feelings in our gut. What would happen if you remained open to the possibility that your inner wisdom had all the answers? Hold that question in your mind, close your eyes if you like, and take a deep breath in as you set your intention. Breathe in, deep breath in, and as you breathe out, thinking your intention today, I am creating with the possibility of unlocking my inner wisdom. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, today I am creating for, and let it be planted into the earth to see what comes through, what will grow from this intention we're setting. One more breath, breathe in, As you breathe out, what are you creating for today? What is your intention? And as we breathe in, we can open our eyes, let in the light, and let's get creating. Begin by holding the inquiry in your mind, your intention. What would happen if I remained open to the possibility that my inner wisdom had the answers? Holding your intention in your mind, we're going to do a process that artist Shiloh Sophia McLeod calls metacognitive drawing. So we begin by putting our pen on the paper and just letting it do what it wants. You're not trying to control it or think about what shapes or where the pen has to go. You're just going to make some marks and patterns and let it guide you. And while you're doing this, you're holding the thoughts in your mind and of your intention and asking for answers to that question. Once you're done, take a moment to look at the image. You can even turn the page around from side to side and see if anything sticks out at you. And then see if there's words that come up or symbols that you see or any thoughts that came up during this practice. If there was something that came to you, a sentence, a phrase, or words, then add those onto your paper like a journaling process. Remember to not judge yourself while you're doing this. Just be playful and curious as you go through this process. Some words and things that came up for me was balance, introspection, reflection, flow, and at the beginning I noticed how tight and just chaotic the beginning was, but as I moved through it they became more relaxed and flowing. Growth, wonder and curiosity. So just continue through and see what you can get from it. Next, I'm going to prepare the paper to create our wisdom cards. Now I've got a very large piece of watercolor paper that I'm folding, but you could use a smaller piece like an 8 by 10 or 9 by 12, depending on how many cards you want it to make. So I fold it in half, and I'm using a marker to really make sure that fold is really well pressed down so that I can tear it apart easily. So now my sheet is about 9 by 12, and I'm folding it into even smaller strips. When I have my strip, I fold that in half, and then I fold the two ends into the center, making sure to fold them really well so that they're easy to tear. Now you can choose how many cards you'd like to create. I will be making 4 today. Once your cards are made, take your metacognitive drawing out and use some of the words and symbols that came through onto your cards. I'm going to pick my top 4 for today's tutorial. Starting with growth, I'm sketching out some flowers. Now you might choose to fill your whole card with the symbol that for you signifies the word, for me growth, or maybe you want to save room for the word. Now for this one I'm using the pencil to sketch it out, and then I'm going to outline it in Sharpie, but my other 3 cards I just go through and do it in Sharpie. I don't want them to be too perfect. I want them to have their own sort of characteristics, so I'm not going to worry too much about making them perfect. The next word I chose was rooted, and for that I drew the roots of a tree going deep down into the earth. next word I chose was flow, and for that I did waves. And my final word was wonder, which to me can be symbolized by the cosmos and the mystery there. And if you did use some pencil before you're outlining, you can erase that now before we start to paint. I'm using some watercolors, and I have a clean white plate there for my palette. I'm going to use some of my favorite colors, starting with magenta, and I'm going to just play around and dip other ones in. So I'm using some yellow and some Payne's gray. Then I'll mix some Payne's gray with green to create just a different shade. When painting the background, I like to leave a glow around the images and the words. So what I mean by that is just leaving a bit of white around the edges. It helps them to kind of stand out. And you can play with splatters and drips and patterns on your backgrounds too, and just see what happens. So play around with different colors and glow and different effects that you can get on your cards. And while you're painting, again, remember to connect with your intention and how those words and symbols connect back to your original intention. The colors I used in the tree for this one were sienna and yellow. In the ground I used a sepia. And in the background I used a light blue and some lemon yellow. For the wonder card, I start with a deep purple, and I'm going around being a little more playful with my lines, leaving glow in some areas and covering stars up in others. Then I use a bit of Payne's gray to deepen that, and I also throw in some turquoise, and I go back and forth and allow some drips to happen and some splatters. So again, just remember to have fun with these. They are meant to be more of a meditation process while you're creating. The next thing you can choose to do with your cards on the image side is to embellish them. You could use glitter, you could use collage elements, you could go through and add pencil crayons. I'm choosing to add some gold ink, and I'm just adding a bit of outline to some of the images, just to give it just a little more depth, and in a way sort of honoring the words and wisdom, and letting that kind of come through into your work. Once everything is dry, you can go back over any lines that might have been covered up or disappearing with the Sharpie. And you can add any more embellishments that you'd like. So now that we have the front of our cards done, we can go one more step and add some journaling to the back or into a notebook. You could create affirmations or action steps or dares to go with each card that are tied to the word and the intention that we set at the beginning. Or if you wanted to, you could put just designs on the back to have a nice backing, or you could leave it as is. But I'm going to go through and add maybe an affirmation and a little bit of journaling. So let's see, we're connecting to our inner wisdom and the possibility that it has what I need to know. And the word that came up was growth. So let's see, for an affirmation, I could write, I can learn. An old dog can learn new tricks. And then I might take some time to journal underneath, just a little bit more. Let's see, for growth. So I maybe could write an action step. What do I want to learn more about? What do I want to? How can I challenge myself? Maybe what beliefs am I ready to release or change or adapt? Okay, so I can learn. Could also be what experiences stretch me beyond my comfort zone, for better or worse. Could be ones that I'm seeking or ones that I didn't expect. Okay, let's see, rooted. An affirmation for rooted could be, if I'm rooted in where I stand, if I'm grounded, then I would feel empowered. I am empowered. So hold each of your words in your heart, in your mind, and see what that would feel like in relation to the intention we set. And let's see, if I want to add any more writing or actions or dares or reflections, I am empowered, rooted. I can choose to grow where I am planted. I can choose what to put in my compost, what I choose to scrape off my experiences. I can choose what goes as compost to nurture the soil. All right, wonder. Wonder for me is staying open to the possibility. I'm curious. I engage with mystery. I like both of those. I am curious. I engage with mystery. So question could be, what possibilities am I not seeing? What light is in the dark? And flow. Affirmation for flow. When I feel I'm in a state of flow, for me what's coming up is that I am connected. Each wave flows into one another, separate but complete, always moving, and water is gentle but also strong enough to change things. So I'm going to put, I am connected. So when I am open to the possibility of my inner wisdom, I feel a sense of flow. I'm connected. I can create. I make time for what matters to me. So not only connected to others, but to the self. Flow. Where can I have more patience? More compassion for self and others. So there are 4 cards to help engage with your own inner wisdom. And you can make as many cards as you like. And as you go along and create more, then you have a tool that you can use on your own. You can begin to shuffle them together. You can wake up in the morning and say, what should I be aware of today, or what should I focus on today? And you can just pull a random card and reflect on what's there and see how you can bring that into your day to remind yourself to connect in with yourself from time to time. Thank you so much for joining me on this creative adventure. I hope you had fun creating your cards and finding the symbols and words that match to your intention today.